So is it tracing each simulate now live in the Nethermind, or is that not released on the just merged but not released in the
Not
mainnet?
released, just merged.
Has she not taken a look at it?
No, I have not.
You should agree on the specs of it, and then probably write an execution spec for it as well.
So, there's another update from my side. I brought this up a while ago, but we have someone who is interested in adding the beacon root and withdrawals fields to the block override. And I am planning to merge this PR today. It would be nice if other clients would take a look at it and see if this is something they would also add. I mean, we got a temperature check a while ago, and I think everybody said they're okay with this. So yeah, I'm just moving ahead with it now.
What can you do with them? Is it that you just get the correct hash, or is it can you do a withdraw and then can you do the transaction with those that ETH, or is it that ETH is locked for some time, or how does it work?
You can pass in a withdrawal, and the EVM will have to process it. There is not much to gain from it specifically, like except for
Is the block hash?
it's there's a completeness thing to it, but sorry. So this team is particularly testing the ELCL connection, so they need the full-fledged simulation, and this is part of it.
But can you do the withdrawal and that it doesn't transfer ETH? It's just you just initiate the withdrawal, but then you cannot actually exit, I guess.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I mean, with the withdrawal, I guess you are not getting the ETH out yet. It's just a request that you want to withdraw.
Oh no, this is a request from the CL, so the EL will actually deposit Ether to the accounts.
So there's an ETH transfer being done.
There is the ETH transfer being done, yes.
And does that produce a log?
Oh, that's a good question. I think
I feel it should, but is it some kind of special kind of transaction, and that's why it's not being tracked?
it's definitely not a transaction. It's something that's done as part of the inherent block processing.
And I guess then it's very difficult for us to make a log for it because we don't know really where it goes, because all the logs are under each transaction.
I mean, we could make a log that comes from the deposit contract and to the user.
But then we would need a transaction that produces the log. At the moment, we don't.
Oh, you're saying we have no place to put this log?
Yeah.
Yes, because our structure doesn't handle block level logging.
Because that kind of thing doesn't normally exist in the Ethereum, that block cannot produce logs. I guess that's a bit annoying that if you want to track where the ETH is going, then you have to figure out the withdrawals separately.
Yeah, I agree that this is annoying. We have to find a solution for it.
And I guess when you do withdrawal, you don't really know how much ETH is being moved either. So it's not something that you could easily see that if there's a withdrawal, then you know it's this amount of ETH.
I think you know this.
And I guess you have to make it
Obviously,
curious
yes.
before the withdrawal is made at how much ETH there is, and then if the withdrawal is triggered, then you can maybe deduce it.
Well, the assumption is that the CL will feed us correct information.
But when you run the ETH simulate, you don't.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know how we could add log for that, unless we make some kind of phantom transaction, but that also feels very hacky. Unless we had some kind of new field that would be somehow block produced logs, but that also seems quite weird.
I would prefer the second one as part of a general push to get logging of all ETH transfers into the system.
I guess this is the only place where the block could produce logs. I guess the withdrawal cannot trigger any smart contracts or anything like that.
No, the withdrawal cannot initiate code. So like to go back to the error thing. So basically, if we will add the balance by the given amount regardless, like this is not something we check. So like when you see the withdrawal, this is not something that can fail on the EL side. You can know that this will happen.
Can you pass any hash there, and it will always pass it? There's no checking or anything be done.
You can pass any value there, as only the address has to be valid, of course. But that's yeah, done in the.
But how can you make the ETH transfer? Is it that then you always make the ETH transfer to that account, but you don't do any checking for that?
Checking for what?
That there's an ETH in and the withdrawal is in a way possible
So
or
the
anything
thing
like that.
is that the ETH is coming from the beacon chain.
Oh yeah, it's minting.
Yeah,
Yes,
as far as
it's
the EL is
minting.
concerned, it's been minted. It's just
Yeah.
account balance plus equals whatever.
But how do you know how much is being minted? That is a field.
The withdrawal object, it has a field called amount. So it will
okay.
tell you, yeah. How much?
Okay. Then I don't see this as that big issue because you can read from that already how much is being moved. So the person who is making this thing should already know how much it is being moved or minted.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that important then that there's a log for it.
Yeah, agree.
I thought that you were triggering some object and then depending on the state of the chain, it depends how much is being minted. But if it's straight with a field that you can see, then I don't think it's that important.
I agree that it's not critical. It would be nice though if a user's trying to like replay a block or something, it'd be nice if we logged the ETH. But it sounds like it's going to be a pain because you don't have a place to put it, and so I'm okay with ignoring that.
But if you're replaying the block event, then you can see in your each simulator statement how much is being minted. So it's visible there.
It just means anyone doing this has to write code that checks both places. It's the same problem we've had with Ethereum for a long time, where it's very hard to do like a full audit of all ETH because there's a bunch of different ways you can get ETH and they're not all logged in the same place. It's just kind of a continuation of that same problem, and I'm okay with kicking the can down the road yet again. It would just be nice if one day we actually solve that.
I guess yet I don't have when the self-destruction kind of goes away, then this I don't have a way to move ETH to some place that shouldn't get ETH, I guess.
Yep. Just there's always one more way that someone can move ETH that isn't accounted for properly in a lot of tools. That's all. Again, it's not a big deal. I think we can kick the can down the road. It's not going to break anything horribly. Just
so you cannot have a smart contract that cannot receive ETH because of these things.
Yep.
So I guess we should add this to the spec, adding these kind of things. Yeah, return object. I thought we had something like that, but I guess it's only what we are returning, but not something that you can override.
Yeah, so yeah, there will be 2 extra fields in the block overrides object.
And do you feel this should be part of the V1 and not V2?
I think so. It's a backward compatible change. The other change that it will kind of incur is we do return the beacon root hash in the header of the block. And now when there's this block override, then we have to also update that updated in the header. But I think this is a minor change.
Is there still anything else that we are missing in the overrides that, or something that you couldn't replay an old block? Or do you think we still now have it all after this? I think we were thinking about the withdrawals before, but we didn't see any use on adding them. But I guess now there's a use for it.
Exactly.
What does the
Not
Peso and
sure.
Netherman think about this?
Sorry, I'm too out of touch to have a qualified response. I'll have to get back to you on that. Unless Mercy has an opinion on it. I know Mercy's been looking at some basic stuff. I don't want to speak for you though.
To be honest, I phased out. Can you give me one sentence recap?
Can you, should I explain it? Basically, just to cannot withdraw us to the state overrides. I think that's it.
The block overrides, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. So we were discussing that. Yeah, we can probably add that. I don't see any major problems.
Okay.
Is there any spec for it already, or?
I haven't written anything at least. I don't know if Sino has anything for that.
No, I don't.
It would be good to write at least some basic spec, just not to.
Basically, all the names of the fields is the most important one, and decide what those are.
Yep.
But
I can share what we are using. Or, I mean, it's not merged yet, so I will write it here.
have you had enough time to work on the tracing stuff?
No, sorry.
Okay.
We do have a request now in guest to add a new method for a batch version of create access list. And it feels like another feature that can be added to V2, similar to estimate gas. We could also specify that if you want, we can create the access list for you.
This should just be a regular access list, not a witness.
Yeah.
How would it work? It's similar. Is it that you run some simulation and then you want access to the list to be generated for some specific transaction? And you might also want to generate for multiple transactions at once, I guess.
Yeah, I think the use case is to generate it for multiple transactions. And the tricky part is that similar to estimate gas, create access list also has to do sort of a binary search or like an iterative approach of like it will run the transaction multiple times to create this access list. So
Why? I mean, I understand how it's theoretically possible for someone to have an access list that is a function of the gas use, and the gas use is a function of the presence of an access list.
Yeah.
But it feels like a just massive waste of resources to support those obscure use cases. It feels like just do one pass, get the access list, return it. And if it's wrong, then someone can go do it by hand themselves.
I would love to tell you why we do it this way. Wait.
This is one of those situations where I feel like, if someone is going, like, we've told people over and over and over again, don't have your contracts logic conditional on the gas used. And we've talked about removing gas introspection specifically to stop people from doing this. And so I feel
Fixes this as well.
yeah, EOF is, I think, getting rid of some of this.
I think one issue I have with this change is that I feel we should freeze the spec and kind of start making these things to version 2. But it seems like at the moment everyone just want to modify the existing one.
I think access list should go in version 2. It feels very similar to estimate gas, like almost identical.
Yes.
What about the withdrawals? Should that be in the V2 or V1?
With withdrawals, I'm a fan of in V1. It feels like it's just something that was missed in V1, and we've already talked to the clients, and everybody that we've talked to has said they're totally fine with adding it. It felt like just an oversight at the first pass. There's something missing from our spec on accident, kind of thing.
But all these years, there's always been something missing from our spec.
Sure. I think this one is easy enough, and it fits in enough that it doesn't change. This one feels like it's easy enough, and it doesn't change the shape of any objects. It seems obviously missing. Like when you think about it, you're like, oh, why is that not there? Versus like access list generation and estimate gas is something that feel more like new features to me. Just as far as drawing lines go, this feels like a pretty easy line to draw.
Does everyone agree on this?
When I asked in Telegram previously, everybody said yes, I think. And I believe that included Besu, Nethermind, Geth, and us by way of me. I overrode you.
Yeah. Let's do it that way then. Can Sina share me some specs with the withdrawal stuff, and then I can write it to the RPR.
Yep, will do.
I do think we should, related to that, I think we should merge the PR. Is anyone opposed to merging it at this point? Or do we feel like we need to wait for something?
The same issue is with the test, that I don't know also when those should be merged.
Oh, that's right. We want the test to go in.
But I don't know which order those would go. Do they need to go at the same time?
Yeah, that's a good argument. I think the test should go first, or at the same time. Like we should have the test ready and passing in at least 2 clients, if not 3, before we merge. Okay, I'm convinced.
Do we have anything else?
Not me.
Sina, can you look more into tracing stuff? You can maybe then write the spec if you agree on those things. How it was done.
On the test, since we're on the topic, we did have this issue pertaining to the logs bloom. This was fixed on Geth. So this would be something to test again and see if there's still the mismatch between the clients. And the other one that was also found by Bisu was when we are creating the transaction object from the arguments, then we are not setting the sender basically on the resulting object. So let's say I have a call from account A to B. This is my simulation, and then I run simulate V1, and then I get the block result, and it has the full transaction flag set, so it has to return the full transaction. And Geth is returning an empty from field here. And this has caused some mismatch to Besu. I was wondering if you guys are like, how is Nethermind behaving here, and what we can do here. Because, like in Geth codebase, this is really tricky to do actually, to set the correct sender.
Well, why is sorry, I think I missed something. Why is the sender missing? Like every transaction has to have a sender, right?
So because when we receive the object from the user, like when we receive the input, the user only specifies the sender address, not a signature. Yep. And when I convert it to a transaction object, then it does not have a like sender address. It only has the signature. So like kind of the sender address is lost in this translation.
But it's executed with the sender, right?
It is executed with the sender. Yeah, the EVM executes with the sender. It's just
but what?
the resulting object is missing the sender address.
Is it missing the field entirely, or you have
No,
the
no,
field,
it's returning
but
like
it's just
zero
empty?
address.
I see, and that's because just due to the way Geth is architected, you just don't have that information at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am sympathetic to architectures being different, but this definitely feels like we should include the sender, even if it's hard.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. If you can't do it deeper, you can always map it probably when you get the results, right? And just repopulate the sender based on the transaction because it's in order.
Yeah, I guess I could do that.
My worry is that I think people are going to expect that field to be populated and populated correctly. And if we don't, then it's going to lead to a lot of user confusion.
I think the returning 0 is even more painful than not returning at all, because then it feels like it's coming from the 0 address.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, actually what I think I will do what Lukasz suggested, so yeah. Yeah, I do have a path forward now.
Excellent.
Is Besu now passing all the tests? Or agreeing with the Geth other than these things?
I'm not sure about that. Sorry, y'all. This is my first time joining one of these meetings. I'm just kind of lurking. I will be better prepared next time.
No worries.
I'm glad to see more people joining, even if they are only lurking.
Actually, I can elaborate on that real quick if you have a second. My ulterior motive for being here is there's also calls regarding RPC improvements in general. So I want to be aware of how this process is working and see where there's overlap and there's things that can be improved or that eSimulate is pursuing that broader RPC improvements could learn from as well.
I think the thing to learn is get at least 2 clients to implement your proposed RPC, and then go tell everybody, we did this, you guys should all do it too.
Yep. I will send you a copy of my ETH Denver talk, which essentially comes to a very similar conclusion, Micah.
I mean,
You have anything else to discuss?
I would love a better solution, but that is the one that currently works. And in a decentralized system, sometimes we have to accept what we get.
What do you feel like would be a better system?
Oh, I don't know. Something where we had, I'm in this position where, I'm a huge fan of decentralized things, but I also recognize the massive value you get from having centralized leadership, where you have a CEO or a CTO that says, go build this thing, and all these teams go and work on that, and they integrate properly, and they schedule it together, etc. There are huge benefits. But the disadvantage there is we have no centralized leadership that tells us what to do, which has benefits, but also downsides. This is one of the downsides.
Do we have anything else to discuss?
I do not.
Okay, see you guys next week.